Welcome back to Trent on Track for the final time today. We've done it 5 matches down and 1 to go. Let me hear you in the arena if you are excited for one more match of Trackmania.
That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. Match 6 and arguably one of the closest matchups of the day right now. We have Epos and Divino going up against Acros and Wizzy, the dynamic duo from Wales. I could see this going the whole distance, and I wouldn't be able to call which way.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of like BIPL, BIPC titles between them. I mean, Acros yet to win a major BITM tournament that isn't called Cup on Cymru, and I mean, hey, I said major, so, you know, questions.
He's always been there, though.
That's has always been there. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, searching for the win, has been second, third, you know, has been right behind either Boz or Epos, occasionally behind Wizzy as well. I mean, this is an incredibly stacked match all around, and Divino, of course, I think maybe the question mark a little bit, is a fantastic player in his own right, but the question becomes, can Wolves exploit Divino, overtake, you know, manage to get those aces, maybe not aces, but round wins if they can sneak someone past Epos? Is Epos able to just win enough rounds to maybe carry Divino through?
This is the point that I was going to come in and make. I don't think they need to worry about beating Divino as much. That's not a reflection on Divino. I'm just saying that I feel like they need to try and focus on Epos.
Yes,
he is going to be the main protagonist of this match, and ultimately I think will be the deciding chip, as it were. If Wizzy and Acros can get in front of Divino, even if it's not an ace, just those 2-1s and just slowly build it up, then yeah, I feel like that could be the play. But like you say, we were talking about earlier, if Epos wins every round,
they literally can't lose.
They can't lose.
It's literally impossible, yeah. With that said as well, then I suppose one of my questions is, I'm excited to see how Team Wolves approach this match, because it is one of those questions we have in duos sometimes. Do they have a push player? Is there a pace player and kind of a safety player, right? You know, or do they both just go for pace in every round and hope that occasionally the pace is enough maybe to get those round wins? Because both of them are very good players. Both of them are very quick players.
Yeah, I feel like Wizzy is going to be the pacier of the two. Do they?
So then, do you actually?
No, I don't know. I don't know if they necessarily designate.
Okay.
I think they just, you know, play to their strongest.
Yeah. But I suppose even in rounds, you know, if Wizzy is out a little bit ahead and then Acros is a little bit back, do you kind of make the call even in a close round for Acros? Look, you're a tenth, 2 tenths back. Do you start to safe it a little bit, even in that situation? And that's, hey, I don't know. I'm not saying I have answers to this at all.
That was our job. We are professional guessers.
Yeah, but I'm saying that this is one of the things I definitely want to keep an eye on in this match, is how do Team Wolves approach this match? Because I think they're arguably the team with more options and flexibility in how they approach it, because over on the other side, it's very much going to be a case of, hey, Epos is going to be very quick, Divino is going to be doing his best to provide support as well there, but it's not a question of like, oh, well, which player is going to be maybe the pace player in most rounds for that team? It's probably going to be Epos, and that would be true pretty much almost whoever you paired him with globally at this point. There are very few people you pair Epos with, and he's not the pace player for that team.
Yeah, I feel like we could see a dynamic emerge where, like, it ends up being kind of a race of 2 horses, where Wizzy is the one that is competing with Epos, and then Acros is the one competing with Divino. And I think it's going to be the seesaw of those, like, personal battles of just teammate versus teammate instead of entire team versus entire team, because I don't necessarily think that Acros has the pace to beat Epos, and I don't necessarily think that Divino has the pace to beat Wizzy.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic. I can see it going to 4 maps for definite. I feel like I'd lock that in. Maybe 5 if I would say Divino is able to like find some consistency.
Sure. Yeah.
Unsure. So many uncertainties, but that's the excitement of it, right?
Absolutely. And we will be moving to picks in a few seconds here, so I guess we should maybe speak a little bit as to what we're expecting in that direction. I'll say I'm not entirely sure. Again, like, there's a lot of question marks around this. I will say that actually Moonveil are one of the very few teams that we've seen so far today that picked a flower a flower of the ground early on in those picks. And again, it comes down to motivation for doing that. Do they think that that is a safe map for them? Do they think they can clear on that a lot of the time? Or is it a case of, you know, they just want to get it out of the way in case they go to deciders later on as well? And kind of which of those 2 motivations they had for picking it in round 1 maybe changes how they view it in this match as well, up against an opponent who, you know, with no disrespect to Split, I think maybe the duo of Epos and Divino are a little bit more afraid of Wizzy and Acros.
Yeah, potentially. And I mean, you talk about a flower of the ground. Epos has the world record, but look who's in second place. It's Wizzy.
Yeah.
I mean, Divino is in 5th with a 1 minute point 0 low, and Acros is arguably the weakest out of the 4 on that map. So it's only a 10th though.
Yeah.
And realistically, you're going to be driving those rounds? I mean, EPOS might, but I don't think anybody else is quite capable of going, within a 10th of world record.
Yeah, and I mean, based on the fact that we saw Moonveil in that one match, as with every first round match today, it was a quick 3-0 as well. Yep. So for both of these teams, we are missing information on, to a degree, on kind of what they will be managing to pick up quickly. I mean, which of the two maps that we didn't see them on, what's the pace like on those? For Moonveil, the 2 maps that we were missing were Peak and Perfect Blue, which are 2 maps that are kind of decided by tricks a little bit, I mean, the 360 on Peak, that quarter pipe in Perfect Blue. How good are they on those? Is there a worry for the team of Moonveil on those maps then? Again, questions to be answered as we get into picks.
Yeah, you talk about Peak, live world records, Wizzy, EPOS, Divino, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we don't have Bosbez times.
Yeah.
Which is,
And we don't know if there's offline times for some of these players as well.
Yeah, that's also true. But it's so hard to separate. We've been stood here for 5 minutes trying to separate these teams, and we have achieved nothing.
Yep, they're going to have to sort it out themselves on track when we get there as well. And we will be getting into those picks shortly, just waiting for final preparations on stage as well. Of course, just takes a little while making sure players are in comfort. We don't want matches decided by one player saying, well, actually, my controller wasn't working that whole time properly. The dead zone was off by 0.5 millimeter, and that really threw the match for me. That'd be kind of disastrous. No excuses is what we're saying.
Yeah, I think Wizzy looks pretty comfortable at the moment. The wheel is steering, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah, it does turn. It rotates effectively. That's the main thing. Oh, locked in. Look at that. I love the gloves.
Wizzy reaction.
Yeah, big fan of the gloves. Wonder if he'll let me try them on.
Oh, maybe. You could ask him nicely.
If I ask nicely, it depends on whether he wins or loses this match, whether he's in a good mood or a bad mood afterwards.
Get him to sign one.
Oh, and then just steal it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, good deal.
Put it on eBay.
Profit. Absolutely. Huge profit on that. I'm sure there's people in this room who'd buy a signed Wizzy driving glove. Absolutely,
I would.
Yeah. And I'm getting a big thumbs up from Doc, and Babs as well, but it was a little bit late, so I'm going to go with Doc. Doesn't matter. We're going to go into draft rather than starting to try and auction off pits of Wizzy's gear that he's not agreed to give to us. It is Wolves with the first pick as well. Moonveil are the 7th seed coming into the tournament, and so it comes down to Wolves for that first pick. And then I think a powerful position, frankly, for Moonveil. That 2nd and 3rd pick in the match is genuinely not a bad position to be in, and it'll be Peak first for Wolves.
Wizzy obviously feeling confident with that world record. It's an interesting one. We haven't...
There was a loud on stage there, which I don't think stream picked up, but the audience certainly did here live.
Was it from Wizzy?
I don't know who it came from. EPOS? Nope.
Yeah, maybe.
Da Vinci. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So look, there's a serious discussion going on, and this was the question we had. They went to a flower of the ground in their first match. They've gone to it again, and then they'll go for Wildfire as pick 3. So an interesting, a fairly unique first 3 maps compared to what we've seen over the course of the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, we've barely seen the first 2 maps, so I mean, good for them to get some exposure. There's some fantastic maps. And we'll see what the dynamic is, to be honest. It's, wait, have we got... No, we haven't got the 2 360 maps first.
No, not quite. We are still waiting for one of them in the last 2, and this is the most involved pick session that we've had so far. I think both teams deep in discussion on what exactly their picks were going to be right up until about halfway through, and it's still ongoing for Wolves. 40 seconds used, and they still have not decided. It's just, there's only 2 maps left. Flip a coin if you have to, lads. You're running out of time. There is 10 seconds left on it, and we'll see. I mean, our remaining 2 maps on this one are, of course, it's Soccer Not Football and Perfect Blue. So pick your poison, 360 or quarter pipe. The answer is 360.
I mean, yeah, a rock and a hard place, really.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit tough, but this should be exciting. I mean, hopefully we get all the way to that map 5. What a way it would be to round out this first day of Trent on Track here in the University of Staffordshire. And we're all having a wonderful time. We're going to continue having a wonderful time tomorrow and probably tonight as well in between. So with that said, I'm looking forward to it. Has the picks changed your opinion on this? Are you leaning one way or the other on either of the teams since we've seen the picks come out?
I find it really difficult to bet against EPOS.
Yes, that's fair.
Even if Divino has a nightmare, I still think EPOS wins the majority of rounds, like 80% plus.
Okay.
So I find it hard to bet against them. I think 3-1 is what my brain is saying. 3-2 maybe if things go a little bit crazy.
Sure.
But I'm up for a bit of craziness. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm all in. I'd love the 3-2. I'd love to get to a map 5 today. I would love to see this one come down to the wire. I think both of these teams have absolutely top 3 potential. You know, I think with them adding Geese Can Fly, I think that's a potential, not a clear top 3 by any means at all. You know, there's a couple of teams nipping at their heels. Evo and Split have both looked very good here on day one as well. But I think these are 2 teams that have top 3 potential. And this is our first time seeing Wizzy and Acros on the stage as well.
I mean,
you know, as much as I'm saying that, I'm like, hell yeah, these guys are great. I guess I don't know. They could be awful at these maps.
I mean, they 3-0'd earlier. I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows what happened in that match? We have no way of knowing.
Yeah, I don't know how good they were. Obviously, that 3-0
kind of speaks for itself.
I mean, everyone got a 3-0.
Everyone did get a 3-0.
Oprah Winfrey giving out, you get a 3-0, you get a 3-0. Everyone gets a 3-0, right?
That's true. And then, I mean, looking at it this way, right? Moonveil 3-0'd Split, and Woes 3-0'd looks like Damp, and then Split 3-0'd looks like Damp. So, Moonveil are the better team?
Yeah, you lost me at the first one, I'm not going to lie.
Doesn't matter. Hey, we're getting ready for map 1. We will be heading on into what should be a very exciting match, our final match of the day, and we are out on track. We will be kicking things off with Peak. We will hopefully be kicking things off with Peak gameplay in round 1 as well. And it's starting off strong. All 4 players getting through early parts of the map pretty cleanly, and it is definitely possible to hit these walls, these tight inside lines. We saw crashes as Divino will nose slide his way, not quite off the map, but definitely out of contention.
I think he managed to salvage it a little bit though, just managed to save it. So he's only 4 tenths behind, which we talked about before. You need to stay in the rounds even if you do make a slight mistake. And if anyone got their Ice 360 completely wrong, which they haven't, then Divino would be able to come back in. Wizzy very close there to the outside wall. Acros in a good position, but Epos overtaking on the final jump and does make it, gets that draw. And that was an important round for Epos as well, because Acros and Wizzy were breathing right down his neck.
Yeah. I mean, Epos clutched up on those final couple of corners 100%. As well. I mean, just Epos on tech around those final drifts, managing to eke out those tiniest gains and holding on to the round win. Now, it'll be a lot harder for Epos to rescue Divino if there's any mistakes, if Epos has already crashed.
Yeah, Divino's going to have his work cut out here. I mean, a crash in round 1. Epos, we said, would probably, or I said at least, would probably win around 80% of the rounds. Win in round 1, seems to be finishing 4th in round 2. Acros and Wizzy, they don't have the biggest cushion right now. They have 2 or 3 tenths, so, you know, any mistake, Divino, I'm sure, would swoop right on past. They need to keep things clean, and the Ice 360 is not going to be kind to Acros. Wizzy gets a decent amount of exit speed, though. Divino, I'm not sure is going to be able to catch him through these last couple of corners.
No, not quite enough speed. The gap just a little bit too large. Divino gets close to the outside wall there, was pushing that drift, but Wizzy should finish, does finish, gets across the line, and Epos does ultimately come home in 3rd. The mistake less costly than the one Acros made. It's another draw, and I mean, credit to Epos as well, staying in the round despite an early mistake that looked kind of brutal on track there as well. Still finishing less than 2 seconds behind the lead, still managing to overtake after that error on the 360 by Acros, and so we stay tied after 2 rounds at 2-2, and this is starting to deliver already. I mean, sure, there's been mistakes, but these have been very close rounds up front.
Yep, they have been very close. We've seen a couple of mistakes. I think the only player yet to make a mistake is Wizzy, who is out the front in this round with a Moonveil sandwich. Acros about 2 tenths further behind. Wizzy continuing to hold the lead as we go through these drifts. No. Acro's a big crash, so now it is all down to Wizzy, and the Ice 360 does get it beautifully and pulls away from Divino as well. Wizzy driving a great round, goes so close to the outside there with that nose slide, or auto slide, I should say. Wizzy, does he get in? Does he crash the finish? Hits the finish, but does make it through. Another draw. Wizzy proving clutch this time.
Yeah, Wizzy trying to squeeze everything he can out of that risky fin, trying to jump as far right as possible, and it's getting very risky indeed for Wizzy. This time a little bit less risky than the previous round, and ends up winning the round by 1.5 tenths. And so we're 3 rounds in and there is nothing to separate these teams. And no wonder we were having so much problems before the match started trying to separate them. We said they'd have to decide it on track. They're having issues doing that themselves.
Yeah, I'm glad that our indecision has been justified here with the first couple of rounds, although there's a bigger mistake. Divino and Epos crashing at exactly the same time, and they're going to be multiple seconds behind here, so surely the safe call comes through for Wizzy and Acros here. This could be a big development in the match. We've had 3 draws so far, and now we could have a doubling of Wolves' points up to 6-3 in the match, and that puts them in great contention. This is their map pick. Oh, Wizzy with the mistake. We said he was going so close to that outside on multiple occasions. Does he still get the ace? Oh, he's clipping. Can he get the safe in time? No, he can't. 2-1. Only 1 point gained. What could have been 3, Nua?
He's going to be kicking himself.
Yeah, it has to be.
Crazy. I don't think we've seen someone crash there. It's the Ice 360, and then I think it's just that come down. The adrenaline fades a little bit because you're like, I've done it. We're through. We're clear. That's an ace. And, just not paying quite enough attention into that outside wall, making a second mistake out of frustration directly afterwards as well. And without that second mistake, he still would have gotten the ace for the team. So, little bit of an error there, but Wolves do still pick up the round win. They are once again starting off strong as Epos is not looking comfortable on peak. Has crashed 3 rounds in a row now.
I believe
and is
so.
sitting a long way behind on this one. We're on to uphill dirt, and Wizzy and Across sit 1 and 2. And if they both survive the ice this time, surely they will not throw it away again. It's clean entry, small, and Macross is going to end up wide on the outside. It's a very clean drift from Divino. Wizzy is just awkward, has to let off and release. He's hopped a little bit on the sausage as well, and so Divino is overtaken too, and now we're moving towards a draw as Divino crosses the line. Wizzy and Across are wheel to wheel behind them, and Epos will eventually cross as well. And credit to Divino keeping it close when Epos falters.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, we've highlighted Epos frequently as kind of the leader of the team and the one to beat, but Divino there, probably the best Ice 360 I have seen today, just absolutely annihilates Wizzy and Acros and gets that draw. So keeps Moonveil in the match. I thought Worlds were in prime position to right the wrong of the previous round, but it just didn't come through for them because of the clutch of Divino at the end.
Yeah, Epos too. I'm beginning to think that possibly the GOAT is washed, as Epos is now 2 seconds behind. Again, another early mistake. 4 rounds, 5 rounds in a row. The number keeps climbing, but Divino keeps making it competitive anyway. 360 again, overtook 2 on this 360 last time around. The exit looks good from all 3 this time around. In fact, it looks better for Across than it does for Divino. Look at the speed as Across slides past. Divino dropped to 3rd. The ace delayed, but not prevented, as Wolves will cross the line in 1st and 2nd, and that's what they have been hunting for.
Yeah, it took another 2 rounds for us to get there, but ultimately they do make amends, get that ace. But I think the catalyst behind all this is Epos.
Yeah.
Crashing 4 rounds in a row, this is like unheard of. Like, obviously we know that he warms up as matches goes on, but you never expect him to start this cold, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very rough, and well, this time around Divino's gone. So ironically, Divino, I think, being the player that has been more stable, more reliable for Moonveil in this match, is gone. And frankly, that's deciding. That is map deciding, because they just need a player in the top 2. Divino is still respawning at the back. I think they know it. And Epos will look for the moral victory. Will look to come out on top and win the round, but it simply does not matter. Wolves, job done. Map 1, they go up a point, and they are looking great. Wizzy will go on the wall, but whatever. Here's a Cross just behind as well. So Epos's gap is bigger. But hey, you can win the round by an inch or a mile, Epos, but in this situation with a Cross behind, following the taillights into that finish, it's done. And Wolves have won on peak. They will go up 1-0 on the match, and they're looking great, honestly, on map 1.
Yeah, as we said, Peak hasn't been picked 1st, 2nd, or even 3rd, I think, in the entirety of today. So potentially that curveball being thrown there by Wolves has really unsettled Moonveil. Epos did not look comfortable, and that is not a sentence that we say very often. So clearly, the pick has worked, but now we go on to a double pick for Moonveil. It feels dangerous. If there was ever going to be a time for them to get back into the match, it's over these next 2 maps. I feel like they need to kind of hold their serve, as it were, on their own picks and stake their claim in the match.
Absolutely. We will be heading to a Flower of the Garden. Again, a map that we've actually not seen picked very often, very early. And the only team that's really been doing that is Moonveil that we have seen. I know Mime in the audience here. If this goes poorly for Moonveil, might need to watch your back this evening. So fingers crossed they can win on their own map pick on this one and come out on top with it and keep things competitive as well. I mean, you know, we were talking, this was a match we expected arguably to be the closest of the day, that this was two teams at the top of their game in a lot of ways as well, and that we were hoping to maybe see it go to 5. If Wolves go up 2 in the first 2 maps, that is shocking, I think, to everyone here.
I don't know if shocking is the right word. Unpredicted, maybe?
No, I've decided. They're
okay,
all shocked.
all right, yeah, we're shocked,
you all agree
guys.
with me, and if you don't, just stay quiet about it, okay? It's going to be fine. It's a flower of the garden, and it is the second map. It is the pick, as we say, for Moonveil. It is a map that we've seen less of today, honestly, than many of the other maps, and I think that was surprising coming in. This was a map we expected to see kind of go in the top 2 a lot of the time, something to let players settle in, but Reactor Grass, apparently not everyone's favorite surface.
I will say, if there was ever a map for Epos to regain and get his mojo back, I think it's this one. I feel like this is the map that suits him most out of the entire map pool, so if he's not able to kind of get his confidence back and find his groove here, then I don't know where it's going to happen.
Yeah. One thing to keep an eye on as well, Divino, the only player that we have seen going for an alternate line later on in this track with that little bit of the reactor boost onto the grass, goes for a regrip on the pole that is outside, gaining good speed uphill, and there is that regrip that Divino goes for. Doesn't seem to be gaining him a huge amount of time a lot of the time, but I think it has moved him a little bit closer to Wizzy and Acrose's back tail lights just now. Epos pulling out a little bit of the lead. Wizzy and Acrose right behind through that drift, and Epos very wide on the exit, going to be overtaken by Wizzy, going to be overtaken by Acrose as well, trying to fight back round the final corner. Epos has dropped back. Wow. That's an ace. Wolves go 3-0 up after 1 round.
What a round from Wizzy and Acrose there. Epos looked like he was in contention towards the end, looked like he was pushing fully, but yeah, just went slightly wide, lost that little bit of speed. They smelt blood and they went in for the kill. They got the ace, 3-0 on their opponent's map pick.
Yep. I don't know, one of these two Moonveil players needs to start channeling Captain Ahab. These Wolves are getting out of control at this point, as Epos does lead the way this time around, but Divino has dropped back. Not as much as in the previous round. He was sitting right there alongside Acrose, and it was swapping corner to corner until that clip by Acrose sends him down by a few tenths. Wizzy is still right here in the race, and for as much as this map you say might suit Epos, I'm feeling like this is a wheel map as well. A lot of smooth steering, a lot of outside dirt and grass. Reactor looking good with it. Again, Divino on that regrip line. Again, that regrip line, really nothing in it. Does not change the positions, doesn't change the places, as Epos once again sets up for this corner. This is where he really lost it last time around, ended up so wide. Divino loses speed and loses the gear, is going to be caught by Acrose. Epos still fending off Wizzy up front. This should be fine for Epos, but Acrose comes home in third to retain that 3-point lead.
Yep, 0.2 off world record for Epos. That's kind of the standard that we've come to expect from him, and delivers in around there. Needs to do that consistently, but, you know, regardless, 0.2 off world record, all they get for it is a draw. They're still 3 points adrift.
Yeah. And surprising, I think, a little bit. Now, this is a chance of Acrose making an early touch. Not going to drop far behind, but has dropped 3 or 4 tenths behind, and that's been enough to decide some of these rounds that we've had so far on a flower in the ground.
Epos leading the way once again. Acrose is the player trailing, and Wizzy now in third. Divino putting together a pretty decent round so far, but Wizzy has looked good in the second half of the map. Epos extending his lead on the outside dirt. I thought there was a touch there, but just so close to it. Divino, alternate line. Does he stay in front of Wizzy here? Yes, just about. Wizzy carrying some speed through. The gaps are fairly constant, but Wizzy makes the mistake. Acrose with a slightly dodgy line as well, setting up the ace for Moonveil if they can hold it together here. Divino slightly slow there. Here comes Acrose, might just be able to stem the bleeding a little bit. Epos is far and away. This time is going to be absolutely ridiculous from Epos. 59.9 once again, 0.2 away from the world record. Moonveil claw a point back.
Divino, losing the gear on the exit from that grass a couple of times, I think, it has been a little bit of a problem. Might have been Epos losing it in the previous round. Who knows? It was a car in red. Either way, that's a big loss, honestly. Maybe the most costly gear loss that we've seen in a while, as it is going to be the ace denied, and Moonveil still trailed by 2, and that's an early mistake by Divino. Epos against 2 players from Woes, and not in the position you want to be, sitting just behind them at the moment. It is very close though. Again, classic changing with each corner situation. Great line from Epos. Wow. As Wizzy lost it a little bit as well. So Epos was behind for a little while, has cleanly moved through into first.
Yeah, Epos in that reactor section looks absolutely insane. He's got, what, 0.2, 0.15 on Acros now. Looks to be in first again, but all this would force is another draw. Yep. And Wolves get 1 point closer to that 10 points. We're not really seeing Moonveil winning these rounds or getting those aces and really dealing those hammer blows to Wolves that they need to be.
Yeah, Epos very close to an exit there. Did manage to keep it out of the wall. Keeps it clean all the way to the finish, and hand in hand for Woes. As you say, they pick up another draw, and having picked up an ace in round 1 here, comfortable. Hey, just keep picking up a single point at a time if you need to. They will keep moving up inevitably. But Moonveil, 1 round win, and an ace at this point, at any point, puts them back in the driver's seat, gives them a chance to write their own destiny on map 2. Was that a touch on the inside there? It's not. Acros, though, has lost speed. The line a little bit compromised has put him slightly behind the leading pack of 3, and Wizzy sits behind Epos and Divino.
Wizzy trying to catch Epos and Divino over this reactor section. Is he able to make any headway? Not really, but he's right there, right behind them. It's Acros that's fallen further behind, 4/10 the gap to the leaders at the moment. Everyone on the outside dirt makes it cleanly. Wizzy pushing it the hardest. Divino goes for that regrip line. Does he gain any places from it? Yes, he does, actually. Wizzy losing a lot of speed. Acros overtaking. This could be the ace that Moonveil have been looking for if they can maintain this. Divino's been the one to lose speed here. Does he maintain it this time? Yes, he does. Ace formation for Moonveil. 2 more turns to go. This could be a real turning point in this map. They've looked second best so far, but here they go. 59-9 from Epos, and they make it 7-6 with the ace.
I mean, frankly, this is the kind of thing that we've been talking about, where Epos just wins every round, and then you just need 1 good round from Divino, and they pick up the points. The issue with that strategy being that they'd just given up an ace in round 1 on this track, and so it didn't actually look as exciting. They were trailing. But now, they have the ace. They're back on top. If Epos keeps driving like he has been so far, that's great. Divino crashing at this point is bad, but it's not as bad as it was in the last round.
Yeah, I mean, if Woes are leading and Divino crashes,
disaster.
Terrible. Disaster. If Moonveil are leading and Divino crashes, perfect. Genius.
Well, okay, I don't know about perfect or genius, but
I mean,
it's not
they just get the 1 point, you know, the advantage continues.
Yeah, I mean, great for Divino. Massive weight off his shoulders in this round. Really doesn't have to worry about it as much. Epos taking on the burden in this case, and it is a task he has seemed equal to, but Wizzy is pushing hard on this round, is not letting that gap extend. It's gone from 1.42 up to 0.170. It is nothing. Although Epos does continue to slightly extend, Wizzy is so close on the inside there, should have decent exit speed to try and chase Epos through these final few corners. The gap had extended past 2/10. It's closed ever so slightly, but it's not closed enough as Epos picks up another round win. And Divino comes home in 4th, and Moonveil move ever closer to track point. The issue, Orion, being Woes are also on track point now. There cannot be a mistake. I'm going to say there can't be a mistake from Epos. I think Divino has pace at times on the map, but I think if Epos makes a mistake in one of these rounds, it's done.
I mean, Divino already putting himself about 3/10 back. There is a mistake from Wizzy, though, who has probably been the closest player to Epos so far. Acros right now is was within touching distance and then made a mistake, and this is how quickly it can happen. You know, Divino was 3/10 back at the start, but ultimately the mistakes from Wizzy and Acros much larger, much more time costing, and now Epos drives off into the distance and Divino is just half a second behind, and this is how quickly it can flip for Wolves. They must have felt like they had such a strong hold on this map, and all of a sudden it gets flipped on its head with a couple of aces.
Yep, well, I mean, this is it. I'll be honest, I don't think Moonveil throw it from here. It's a gap of only a second or so, a little over a second, but with that gap, I'm not sure that Epos throws away the round. I don't think Divino is going to do it either. Keeps it out of that gap that you can fall in, and there you go. That's an ace, and Moonveil pick up a track of their own, guaranteed map 4 at the very least. And that is a much needed bounce back from Moonveil after peak went relatively disastrously for them on map 1.
I would say much needed bounce back from Epos as well. Said at the start, if there was ever a map for Epos to get his groove back, to start feeling like himself again, that was it. I think we just witnessed that in real time.
Absolutely.
Like, Epos won 80% of those rounds, I would say.
Yep.
So he seems dialed in now. Like, the mistakes from map 1, supposedly gone.
In theory, yeah. And I mean, of course, the great news as well, Mime won't have to flee the country in the dead of night.
No,
they won. They managed to get their map
real
back.
Positive. I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, looking forward to, seeing Mime around this evening as well. Going to be fun. But we got to prepare. We got to get into map 3. It is all tied up at 1-1. And of course, when we're in any kind of best of 5 and the scores are tied at 1-1, map 3 becomes so important. Because all of a sudden, one of these teams will be moving to match point. One of these teams gets 2 chances to close it out, and the other one is all of a sudden chasing the series. And we're going to Wildfire. We're going to the map that Moonveil picked, and we're going to a map that I think has caused more problems today than we expected it to.
I have to agree, actually. It seems like kind of we said earlier, like it seems like almost one of the more vanilla mix maps in that it's a very difficult and precise map to drive, but it doesn't
have a nice 360.
It doesn't have a nice 360, no. But yeah, it just seems like that one jump onto the plastic and the setup for it, jumping to it from that sausage block is really catching some players out. I guess the precision as well, like there's very, very small margin for error. If you're not driving the optimum line, then you're going to crash and find yourself a second ball so behind. Yeah,
absolutely. As has just happened by Divino. Perfect illustration. Thank you, Divino, for helping Orion make his point. Wizzy so close to the inside there, does survive, but loses speed as Epos is just carrying all of the speed into this outside dirt. And enough speed that Wizzy can't even do outside dirt wheel abuser things. Does, in the follow-up corners, carry more speed, though. Catch back up to Epos, and this is turning into a close round. The type of round that we expect to see Epos come out in. The type of round that Moonveil need Epos to come out on top in, frankly. This is the game plan for this team. You throw Epos into these 1v2s, and he just wins those. He's doing a great job of it at the moment, but Wizzy and Akros are still there. They are not giving him breathing room. How close does he jump to the edge of this? Quite close to the edge, and it's a good line. It'll carry him through to first, and Epos wins round 1. It's a draw in round 1.
Yep, 2.5 tenths off world record. Wizzy a further 2.5 tenths back from him, so Epos is just driving the times that we expect him to, as he has done in basically any competition he has entered ever.
Yes, exactly. Outside dirt, everyone survives. Divino will drive with everyone else for at least the next few corners off the track, and who knows beyond that. It is everyone so close. Great line by Divino, carrying great speed, although it does compromise him a little bit through here. Not as much as Wizzy, who struggled with that corner on the previous round, but survived. This time does not survive, is having to respawn behind. And that leaves Epos and Divino in the 2v1 against Akros, a reversal of that 2v1 from the previous round.
See if Divino can get Akros here. The ace, it's so powerful. Akros doesn't look like he's struggling necessarily, but Divino looks like he has a lot of pace. See if they both make this cleanly. Divino very close to clipping the plastic and equally close to clipping the flag. It's all going to come down to the speed at the end. Who risks it more? I think Akros has it. Oh, crashes the finish, but still makes it through. Divino was pushing him all the way to the line. Another banger time from Epos, 57-0. Drove 57-0 in round 1 as well. I think at this point we could just stop talking about Epos until he crashes.
Until he crashes, yeah, exactly.
That's it.
I thought Divino was in the flag on that round. I have no idea how he escaped it there. It was great, but the ending line from Akros to end up winning by a 10.5, flawless. Knew what he needed to do in that situation and executed. Knowing what you need to do and executing, 2 different things, and very well played by Akros in the previous round. Has support now in this round from Wizzy, who will survive that transition onto the sausage block, and so we'll have 4 players moving forward through it. Epos takes his rightful place up at the front. He's been comfortable there on the last map. He's comfortable now on Wildfire, as I lose my words, as Akros loses control of his car and sends himself to the back as Divino sneaks past Wizzy onto this entry to the sausage block, onto this entry, the important drift into this jump. And it's good speed from everyone. Wizzy setting up very high and has more speed than Divino as well into this dirt section. Not quite enough to catch him, and maybe you risk this jump. Maybe you send it far left. Divino does send it very far left. Will extend the gap back to Wizzy, and that's an ace. Wow. Epos with a PB up front, a 10th away from the world record, and that's Moonveil moving up 6-2 on Wildfire.
Epos improves his PB by 0.006 of a second, but huge. You know, now he's the Epos, the version of Epos that we all know. Yes. The first map was a wobble. We don't get many of them, and then, you know, steps up and does something like that. Just ridiculous. But yeah, Wizzy, I would say is not looking as comfortable on this map.
Oh.
Although we see Divino make a mistake, I was also going to say Divino looking a lot more comfortable on this map. The previous 2 rounds, that was definitely true. He was able to get Wizzy, get that ace, put them on 6-2, and put them in a really good position in the map. There goes Wizzy though. Acros into 2nd place. Epos out in front, as we've seen him in every single round so far. I just think it's kind of the battles going on between Acros, Divino, Wizzy now that's going to decide things, although that's a really big mistake. And yep, Divino slides on into ace formation.
Yeah, I mean, Divino, the mistake early only cost him a 1.5 seconds. Wizzy's was worse, and Acros' is even worse. Both of them are still respawning behind. This is free, frankly. Divino just needs to get to any finish line at this point. He will do so in 2nd place, 1.6 seconds behind, but who cares? That's 3 more points. That is 9 points for Moonveil, and it's 9-2 out of nowhere on Wildfire.
Yeah, Epos drove, what, 3? No, he's driven 4.0s or better.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah.
And Divino, for the most part, yes, a small mistake there, but he is backing him up.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where the pendulum is swinging most violently, and has caused Moonveil now to go on to 9-2. World started out so good in map 1, but ultimately on Moonveil's picks, they have looked supreme.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what map 1 had? Ice 360. You know what's in the remaining maps? Ice 360 and a quarter pipe. And things are going to get interesting on our final 2 maps. And I think it is looking inevitable that we are going to be heading to the next map after this round. Epos is just off in the distance, barely even able to see him on the track anymore. That nameplate is winking out at various times. He's getting so far away. As Divino follows around, Wizzy and Acros are multiple seconds down each from 1st place. And one of these 2 cars is going to get across the line in the top 2 at this point. Epos losing speed on the dirt, but whatever. It doesn't matter. They're going to finish out. Epos is going safe in. Divino is going risky. Divino will not be able to snipe his teammate. Hang on a second. Epos does finish in 2nd, but that's okay. That's fine. They just needed a car in the top 2, and that's what they got.
Yep. Move up to 2-1 in the series, so both teams winning on their respective picks is the story of the series so far. Epos looking supreme again, Wizzy dropping off slightly in performance relative to that map 1 Wizzy that we saw. So where do we go from here, Nua? Ultimately, is the question. What is your hunch?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Epos on these tricks on the final 2 maps now that he's warmed up a little bit more as well. I think, you know, there's the 2 maps that they've won on now, on both Wildfire and A Flower in the Ground, there is time to be made or lost throughout most of the track, right? Whereas on our 2 remaining tracks, on Perfect Blue and on It's Soccer Not Football, a lot of the time, gain or loss is going to come from those 2 big tricks multiple times around. And we'll see how Epos handles them, I think, is frankly the interesting thing. And also, of course, we'll see how Divino handles them. Is Divino going to be comfortable on those? You said he started to look more comfortable on Wildfire, but comfortable in this case still meant a lot of the time being potentially a 2nd down from Epos. It was just that there were more crashes coming out from Woes. I think these final 2 tracks are going to be major tests of both teams, and I think either team's Woes still have the chance to turn it around on these tracks. Moonveil definitely have the chance to close it out on either of them as well, though.
Yeah, and I think if we go back to what we were talking about at the start, I think now the catalyst once again becomes Epos, given that he's starting to just not crash at all, and you know, drove 5 rounds consistent within 0.2 of world record.
Yep.
That's what we expect. That is the standard now. That's the Epos that he's brought to the table for the latter stages of this map. Can he keep it going here on a map that he hasn't picked?
Yeah, 2-1 to Moonveil. They have the ability to close things out on this map to move forward in the upper bracket to an upper bracket final. Wolves, though, will want to make that hard. They're going to fight. You can guarantee it. But Epos is out to an early lead. Divino is up here as well alongside Wizzy. No one making mistakes. That is, wide from Divino on the exit from the bug slide. But it's clean, it's quick, and it's ahead of Acros, although Divino is losing speed here, and Acros is coming back at him. Wizzy is coming back at him as well. Epos is just going to drive off into the distance, but there are 3 cars who will be alongside each other entering this 360. There are 3 cars who are going to be looking for as much pace as possible, and so much of how this map plays is going to come down to this exit here. It's clean from Wizzy, it's clean from Divino, it's cleanest from Divino. In fact, he's got the pace, he's at the line, he crashes, and it's a draw as Divino so nearly turned that into the opening ace.
Had to full send it, didn't he? Had to try and beat Wizzy ultimately, but A draw is what we get, Nua, but if that is how this map is going to play out, give me more.
I'm sold. I'm all in on it. That was fantastic driving. That's what we want out of our LAN. Even if it does rely on Epos kind of getting all the way out in front and alone for himself for a little while. He's doing the job. It is working, and we are once again into a round where all 4 cars are surviving early on. Bug slide, first chance maybe for one of these cars to drop behind. Divino consistently on the last 2 rounds has gained time there, brought himself back into contention, and it once again was briefly a story of Epos and then the other 3 against each other. But Divino, having now made the mistake, drops a second down. Do Wizzy and Acros both survive the 360? Does Epos survive the 360? He is human. There is the chance that he makes the mistake entering this 360. That was very wide from Wizzy. Is he gone off track? Is Divino close enough to catch? Epos touched. Acros is through. That'll be a first place for Acros. It will be Epos in second. Divino does catch Wizzy as that wide entry. Whatever happened to Wizzy on the entry to the 360 proves costly.
Unfortunate from Wizzy crashing that round, because that's one of very few rounds that Epos is going to fail there, and they ultimately couldn't capitalize on it. It's another draw, 2-2. They need to start clawing back points. They need to try and get an ace of their own. I don't think we've seen an ace from Wall since map 1, I want to say. Whereas Moonveil, obviously Epos driving out front. If Divino is the one making the mistake, it's actually Epos making a mistake this time.
Making the mistake. Not a huge one. Outside dirt touch and has gained a lot of time in the bug slide. So Epos is back into third, even with that touch.
Wizzy is pushing Divino hard though, and Divino has not looked comfortable on this map so far. I mean, the 360 has looked pretty good, but the rest of the map, just kind of threading the needle, has come a couple of times. So I'm expecting to see Wizzy really pushing Divino here and probably eking out that first place.
Yeah, although Wizzy made the mistake here last time around. Divino looking for it clean. Great exit speed from Divino. Holds off Wizzy, extends the lead, crosses the line in first, and Epos in third means that Moonveil take the lead on map 4. It's Moonveil who put themselves a little bit closer to moving to that upper bracket final.
That is a great time to drive in rounds from Divino as well. Less than a 10th away from his PB, so despite being perhaps a little bit crash prone, does have the pace and does... As he just crashed?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does have the pace in some rounds to be able to challenge the likes of Wizzy and Acros for the win.
Yeah. Well, we've seen this before. Epos in the 1v2, taking on Wizzy and Acros at the same time. He's come out on top a few times before. Can he do it again here? This time around, the bug slide favors Woes. Feels like for the first time in any of our rounds on this track that I can say that, and it can be true, as Epos will crash. Epos will drop behind, and Wizzy and Acros could look for an ace of their own. As you said, the first time since map 1,
feels like it.
This would be huge timing. I mean, just the timing on them managing to pick this up would be massive. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, because there is, of course, this 360 to go. It looks mildly awkward for Wizzy there, but recovered well and able to hold on to it. This should be fine. It's comfortable. It's clean. It is an ace, and Wolves will move ahead 6-4.
Yeah, 6-4 is important, you know.
Yeah.
Moonveil haven't looked dominant. In this map. That's one word that I would not use to describe Moonveil. They've looked good at times. Divino's driven a good time. Epos has driven a good time. They haven't been able to do it every round like they did on their own picks, and that has given Wolves that slight advantage, 2 points. It feels like it's still in the balance. It doesn't feel like it's a done deal just yet, but they're in a good position.
I'll say the last time we saw a 6-4 scoreline in this match to Wolves, Moonveil immediately aced and then closed the map out from there. So, yeah, just keep that in the back of your head. As probably not going to happen in this round. Divino has made the clip, and Acros is charging at Epos as well, carrying great speed through there and into the uphill dirt. That will compound, as Epos, though, with a very solid line, gets very wide on the exit there, is getting so much speed that he's even catching up to the back wheels of Wizzy as we enter this 360. Acros with a touch on the entry is going to get caught by Divino. Epos, meanwhile, has caught Wizzy, and this is all of a sudden turned from a win for Wolves to a win for Moonveil as they get 1 point closer. But Wolves move to track point.
A round well salvaged from Moonveil there. Divino able to win his battle against Acros, and Epos ultimately getting Wizzy on the line. 7-6 now. It's getting tight, Nua. We're on track point. Ace here from Wolves, and that would be going to a game or a map 5 for the first time today in all 6 matches that we've had. I'm up for it, but equally I could see Moonveil just ace here, 9-7, and then things really start to get juicy, right?
That's when things get very, very interesting in this format. We'll talk about it if we get there, because at the moment Kroos is playing spoiler, splitting the two players from Moonveil. Epos, though, being the player in third, I think is scarier than if Epos is the leading player. We saw him gain so much time, getting so much regrip on the inside there. He's so wide on the outside, and that means the speed he carries down this hill is massive. He's alongside of Kroos entering the 360. He's lower on the line. He's going to be solo on the exit. Davigno loses speed, though, and so Epos will cross the line in first. Caught a Kroos, but Wizzy catches two, and Davigno finishing last means that Wolves move up to 8 and Moonveil get a track point to their all.
Double track point. Wolves just need the victory. Moonveil need the ace. I'm sure that Wolves would take a draw as well, though. Just moves them that 1 point closer. But we said these teams were inseparable in our pre-match hype up, and they're proving our point, essentially, that there's not much that can separate between them on a map where finally they look equal.
Yes.
There's no one team that's like, this is our map, we're stamping our claim on it, we're not letting you guys take it. This could go anyway.
This absolutely could still just be a win for Moonveil in this round. I mean, it feels like this match has more left in it, but either team can just close it out right now, and Moonveil could end the match. It's up to a Kroos to prevent that happening, because Wizzy is a second and a half down. Epos is so fast down this hill, I don't think a Kroos is ever going to catch him, and Davigno is quick down the hill this time around as well. Epos, a Kroos, and Davigno enter the 360. Davigno comes out with his wheels in front. Epos leads the way to the line. Davigno follows, and Moonveil will take a match win with an ace in the final round on map 4.
Well, we focus so much on Epos and about him winning the rounds, but ultimately it was Davigno stepping up and winning his battle there with a Kroos that gets them the win. Such a tight match. You could see Davigno there. Bro is sweating and breathing heavily. I don't blame him. That was one of the closest rounds I've seen, and yeah, crazy outcome. So much hype, but that's what we're all here for.
Yeah, frankly, it takes 4 players to make a match like that happen, and that was absolutely fantastic. Credit, as you said, I think does have to go to Davigno in a lot of ways in making that match as exciting as it was. That was the question mark over this team coming into this tournament was, hey, we probably trusted Epos is good. How good is Davigno going to be? And the answer is, at times, very good, and a lot of the time it's in those clutch moments. He absolutely clutched up in that final round. He clutched up on previous maps when Epos made mistakes as well, and I think full credit to Davigno for stepping up in those pressure moments at the times when it's hardest to step up and getting those great rounds.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, on the other side, Wells played a great match.
Yes.
Like, map 1 map 1 was insane from them, and I still think it could have gone either way.
Yes.
Like, the difference maker ultimately was Davigno, but they were putting up some really good times and some really good rounds. They were on match point as well, like 2 points away, and it was ace away from them. So I think they definitely move forward in the lower bracket. Top 3 feels likely, as you alluded to earlier, based on the performance that we've now seen on stage, seeing them for the first time in match number 6 today. Can they go all the way?
I think they could. I absolutely think they could.
It feels like a stretch. Maybe they can take that step up. I don't know.
Maybe they're flexible. You don't know.
I don't know that.
That's it. Yeah. Well, hey, look, it's going to be a lot of exciting matches tomorrow. There's some very good ones lying in wait still, upper and lower bracket both. To discuss it all here at the end of day 1 of Trent on Track, we're going back to the analyst desk one last time to break it all down.
Yeah, what a phenomenal way to close off the day. We have what pretty much our tightest game yet so far. Wolves looked pretty good to start with, well, looked dominant to start with, but then Epos sort of woke back up, and him and Davigno carried their way into, ultimately, a victory and their way into the upper bracket final.
Yeah, I mean, from the start of the day, I'd said that, like, over the course of the day, the matches are going to get tighter and tighter, and I think that one showed it, you know. The ace kind of winning the last match.
An ace to clutch it out.
An ace to clutch it out. Almost an upset. I got to be honest, in my predictions, I didn't have Moonveil winning that. I was really impressed with Davigno's performance as well. Stepped up in a few times where it was really needed. And yeah, just absolute belter match.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to bring up, is the fact that during this entire broadcast, and every time we brought up Moonveil, we brought up the fact that Epos is like this world records style player, and he's going to be the one to set the pace, basically doing time trials for most of these rounds. It's going to be on Davigno to get these points and get aces, make sure the team isn't falling far behind. And on that first map, it's kind of what we saw. EPOS had a bit of a wobbly, kind of went completely missing, and Davinia just wasn't there to step up. But once we got into map 2, Davinia was right back in it, and ultimately, I think that's going to be the key factor if Moonveil want to take this trophy home.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if they can both play at their best, then that's a scary team.
It's going to be hard to stop them, and I'll be real, Geese Can Fly have looked human in this tournament.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Not been infallible. So we're going to head into the bracket. We'll just show you what tomorrow's games are going to look like. That upper bracket final there, Moonveil versus Geese Can Fly, that's going to be like the highlight game other than, obviously, the grand final.
Yeah, I can't call what's going to happen going into that. That's going to be an absolutely bonkers game, to be honest. We have just some of the best players from the region. Yeah, I get to look about it. I'm just excited. I'm just excited going. We get to see this at LAN. It's such a great opportunity to watch that. So that's going to be a great match to watch. That's
not discounting the 4 lower bracket teams as well. We just saw Wolves put on a blinder of a performance. They could quite easily come back into this. Evo as well. They nearly toppled Geese Can Fly at moments. They brought us to our first map 4 against the #1 seed in the tournament. And then obviously Split, who has kind of surprised a lot of us. Kaiser has been excellent in this tournament, and they've been really one of the few people to push EPOS to their limit. So realistically, it's still so hard to decide who is actually going to win Trent on track.
Yeah, I think looking at that lower bracket, it is going to be an uphill battle for probably Good Focus and Split. But I wouldn't rule out a surprise. And past that, it's anyone's guess as to what's going to happen.
Do you two have any idea?
We have just kind of appeared here.
By the magic of television, we are here.
I'm actually on a green screen. I'm still back in Dublin. I think that the lower bracket is going to be very exciting. I think, hey, Babs and Yossi, I know you're probably still in here. I love you, but if you want to win that match, it's probably don't go to the pub tonight and stay here grinding all night. I do kind of expect Wizzy and Across to advance in that lower bracket. And on the other side, I think Split and Evo, they're going to hone each other. Whichever team comes out of that is genuinely, I think, going to give a very solid performance against Wolves.
For me, I think it's a case of if Moonveil can fix their peak, they're going to be unstoppable. And a couple of teams have struggled on Wildfire as well, so I imagine that's going to be a map that they're going to want to try and grind on throughout the rest of the night if they don't decide to do the party route and just gamble on their luck tomorrow. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be so interesting to see whether people can turn their favours around, whether we can see a miracle lower bracket run, or whether it's going to be the top 2 teams in the upper bracket final just taking it all the way.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see. I mean, we've had an exceptional day today. I feel like that last series was probably kind of the climax. It just felt so close with all 4 players driving insane times at different times, and sometimes at the same time. So that's what we want to see. I think we'll get even more of that tomorrow. Ultimately, who wins? I think my money would still be on Boz and Jaden, just as kind of the 2 real standouts. But beyond that, it's so hard to call.
Yeah, and it's going to be a very interesting one to see. Again, everyone's going to want that share of the prize pool. They're going to want to get on that top spot. They're going to want some trophies to take home.
The trophies are very cool.
It's not very often you get to go and get some trophies from a LAN. Again, as we brought up a few times, one of the first LANs in the UK, Full Track Mania, and to say that you've won one of the first, that's an ego boost going into online tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first ones, and Patster, you can back this up. I mean, there's been other LANs as well, but it feels like one of the first ones for the British and Irish community rather than just a LAN that happens to be in the British or Irish locations.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we had Cup and Cymru, which was a great LAN kind of for the Welsh community. Then had Red Bull event, which was a huge event, just bringing in all sorts of international players. This is the first one for the region as a whole, and it's felt really special so far.
It's national pride, almost regional pride, as well. And ultimately, that's what we've got in store for you tomorrow. We've got upper bracket finals, we've got a lower bracket run, and the grand finals to see who is going to win Trent on track.